Hello, this is a brief presentation by David Chadwick from Last Minute Nursing introducing the medication administration chart for domiciliary care. Medication administration charts are a compulsory part of recording medication under regulations. So this is really quite important that we get this right, and I'm going to just take you through the basics now. New mark sheet comes in. You want to start a mark sheet. They look like this, either in a portrait. This is a landscape version, but it's basically the same thing each time. Put the person's name in. Put their GP and doctor in. Put their date of birth in. Put a date in that the MAR's starting and a date the MAR is ending. I've picked the 5th of May. And then from there to there, what's the number of days that the MAR sheet is covering? Again, this covers you when you're putting your MAR together and makes it easier. For example, if you started a MAR sheet mid-month, or you have a short MAR sheet, for example, somebody's taking a course of antibiotics and that's all that's on there, or somebody's going home and they're taking a separate MAR sheet because that's the practice that you want to adopt. By putting this in, it makes it very easy to make sure that the MAR, it's absolutely clear that then week 1, 2, 3 and 4 might start on the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th of a month rather than on the 1st. Or some people customize these MAR sheets and they'll do 1 through 31 there, so that their first entry would say on day, let's just say the 5th would start there on the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, as opposed to weeks 1 to 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. To be honest, it's more important that you have a system that works. This particular MAR sheet works on that basis that you have week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. That then will tell you what the start date of this is, but it is worth somewhere putting really clearly in that let's just for example say that we're starting this MAR sheet on the 5th of March, making that the 6th of May, and that's going to be the 7th of May, and you get the point. On a computer it's very easy, and you could then run that right the way across the MAR sheet. When you've finished your course, if it's not an ongoing medicine, the other thing to say is put a clear line through the cells that aren't going to be used. Again, you want this MAR sheet to be absolutely clear. So looking at that, we can say, for example, the medication went from the 5th, which has been said, ignore that for a minute, has gone from the 5th of the month right the way through. Let's just change that, say, to the 20th of the month. So we're going to go all the way through to sort of here, and then you can see after that date you've got a line that you would then fill in with your pen or block out on your computer after the 20th of the month. Yeah, so it just makes it as clear as possible to see, and I'm just going to say start date of the MAR chart. Let's just say 5th of May. So it's 5th to the 20th, and that's that for our example here. Next thing to say is that you have various ways of signing this MAR sheet. Now, you know I've put X sign, which simply means a signature. Written signature would be in there, a written signature would be in there, and a written signature would be in there, as it would there, as it would there. But when you are signing a MAR sheet, remember that there are codes, and they are at the bottom of your MAR sheet, and never forget to put them in. This is really important because it helps us to make sure that meds errors have not occurred. So, for example, here I've added a line at the bottom here for a calculating line, and again, freedom there is that this is possible. Now, some people don't. I would strongly suggest that you do in your copy of the MAR sheet. Just choose one of your lines, and you could even write in there, count. And then you've got 58. So we started with 60, we had 2 that day, 58. We had 2 the next day, 56. But then we had 2, now let's go and check what the NT stood for, not takens. 2 not takens there, so it's still 56, but then we had 1 taken, 1 not taken, 55, then the person was absent, still at 55, still at 55. Now, if they had gone home, for example, they might have started a new bar sheet there, so you could then attach the two to see clearly. You might decide that you wanted to send that mark sheet home with the person. That's a judgment call, but for domiciliary care, because you're going into people's houses, it may be that they've gone into hospital for a few days. So, for example, you would then put there, H for hospitalised. So let's say the person went for a couple of tests here. So again, H, and you didn't give it to them H, and you didn't give it to them H, and so on. And so you would put your count down as you go, and obviously they came back there, so we're going to put X sign, which simply means that you'd write your signature in there. So you still had 55 there because they weren't at home, but now there's 54, and so it will go on right up to the end of the course of the tablets. So we've looked at what goes into this section, how you might customize it so you can see. Now we're going to look at what you actually put in these boxes all the way down. So let's have a look. I put in there paracetamol 500 to be administered orally twice a day. So what I've told you there is the dose, the route it's going to be administered, the time, and then there are always on the box or package from the pharmacy instructions. Now I want to say on this training video, our gold standard for last minute care is that the pharmacy will fill this mark sheet in and send it to you ready with that whole section completed. This will all be blank, of course, that's just my trial, but this is the crucial bit. If you have to print or write in here though, let's say print on your computer, it has to be an exact copy of what's on the bottles, or for example, creams or packaging for a medication. Has to be exact. If, however, you have you're writing it, then you print, not write freehand, you print in this section, so it's absolutely clear. The other thing to say is, as I said, you use 24-hour clock is the best standard, so 0900 would be the best, 1800 would be there, because then we're not getting mixed up with 9 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock at night, or 1 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. By putting a 24-hour clock in, it makes it so much easier. And then here on this box, and it's the same for each medication, so we have a brought forward quantity, and I've said we have 10. So at the start of our exercise here, we have 10 tablets. But we've had a box in of 50 tablets, which we've added together. We had 60, and that's where I'm getting my 56 for 58 tablets. Take 2 out to administer, 58 tablets, and so it goes on. Now, when you return them, let's say here, we've had the note here, says 4 tablets not used or dropped, etc. Now, you'd be more precise. You'd say 4 tablets not taken, or refused, or spoiled medication. But then, on the return section, you have who, the name of the person who's completing the mark sheet, just as you would have the name of the person starting the mark sheet. So again, the record is completed. Complete the same details of the packaging and the quantities and totals for each medication that you put onto the mark sheet. And one of the big differences I will say is that whilst that is a signature, a single signature for domiciliary care, if this was a controlled drug, the standard would be that you would have 2 signatures in there, and you would also enter your controlled drug in a controlled drugs book. That is the standard that last minute care and nursing work to. Your mark sheet has 2 signatures, you enter the medication also into a controlled drugs book, and you would have a separate mark sheet for your controlled drugs if you were doing it on a sheet as well. Hope that makes it straightforward. If you have any questions to this, please contact myself, David Chadwick, Mike Medlicott, the Ops Manager, Sean Byrne as the Manager for Supported Living, or Claire as the Manager for Domiciliary Care. We hope this makes it easier and that you can find that your medication administration becomes a lot more straightforward, and you avoid difficult and possibly costly medication errors, and that we get this spot on every time. Thank you for listening.